Hey, this is Kev with Blender Binge, back with another tutorial for you. This time we're going to be making a really groovy animation. It's going to be all 60s psychedelic, trippy stuff. And maybe if you stick around the end of the video, you'll find your mojo. Ready? Let's go. So for this animation, we're going to do one simple thing. Not have a default cube and not have a light in the scene. Now, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create add mesh plane, and then I'm going to rotate that plane up. So I'm going to hit N on the keyboard, and I'm going to go up to item, and I'm going to say rotation 90, and I'll push this guy out maybe down the Y to 5. Then I'm going to take my camera, I'm going to hit Alt G and Alt R, and then I'm going to rotate my camera up 90 and hit 0, and it's pretty much filling the frame. So now I'm going to go over here from Eevee, change it to cycles. Now this effect will work in Eevee, but not as well right now. So in the future, if you're watching this video, you can try Eevee and it might have more bounces and things, but we're gonna need cycles right now for this. And maybe I'll change it to GPU so it's faster for you, and then I'm gonna change it to rendered view up here, okay? So we're seeing this. Now, I'm going to work on this texture. So what I'll do, simple, is pull this up, go to shader editor. I'm going to select my plane. I'm going to hit new. And now I'm going to click off of here. And I don't need this principled shader. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to hit Shift S for switch or swap. And then I'm going to go to emission. And now you see I have emission and it's lighting. So here's nothing and here's light. So then I'm going to plug a texture in here, and that's going to be our trippy texture. So what I'm going to do is hit Shift A, and I'm going to go to texture. I'm going to say magic texture. I'm going to hit color and plug it in, and boom, we get this cool this. So now if I hit depth 1 and I hit distortion, now I start getting this cool 60s looking trippy pattern, right? It's pretty groovy. I'm digging it. But this is not going to give us exactly what we want right now. See, I can try to like make this all like trippy and weird and do all these like cool things procedurally in here, but that's going to take a while. So I'm going to go to a little trick using reflection and make this work. So I had done this once in a video that I'll link to sort of toward the end of this video, and you can check it out. But I'm going to use the same technique, and I'm going to go add mesh cylinder. I'm going to go to cylinder, and maybe I'll type in like 6 sides. And depth I'll put up at 10, and rotation I'll do 90 on the X. And then location on the Y, I'll just kind of push them down so the camera's still inside them and this plane is intersecting. And if I hit 0 now, you see we're inside the tube and we see our plane. So what I'll do now is I will select the cylinder and give that a shader. So I'm going to hit new. I'll use the principled shader here. I'm going to whack metallic up to 1, and I'm going to take roughness all the way down. And now you see we're starting to get this pattern and it's reflecting. Right, so I can do roughness, change that down, turn that down, clear coat, go back to my plane, and now you see here that we have this trippy looking effect happening, and it's reflecting off every wall. And if it's not, you might want to go over to light paths and take glossiness and put that up to like 12 or something, and then you'll start seeing more bounces happening. So here's pretty cool, and I get all these like really cool trippy effects. The only thing I don't like about this, and in the video that I'll link to at the end of this, toward the end of this video, I'll show you how I used this reflection in that video, and it did something really cool. But this is not giving me a nice kind of breakup pattern here. It's just too, it's not keeping it mirrored. So what I'll do, I can spend all day like messing around in here, or I could simply just go here and do a different effect. So I'm going to take this guy, delete him, and same thing. I'm going to go to add, mesh, cylinder, and this time I'm just going to create a triangle and I'll do the same thing. So rotation at 90 and location, I'll push this guy out a little bit. All right. And if I hit 0 now, same thing. So I select my cylinder, and I think I still have that material 002 in here. Yep, there it is. And now you see, if I select the plane, the triangle does a really nice job of just doing this particular kind of psychedelic, trippy breakup. So even if I scale it, I'm getting this different look. So that's pretty cool in itself, right? We could just kind of animate this and be done, but we're not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in my own colors in here. So I'm going to hit Shift A. I'm going to go to Converter. I'm going to go to Color Ramp, drop that in, and now it turns black and white, which is exactly what I don't want. So how do I get rid of that? Well, I can click here, and then click here, and then click here, and then go to red, and then I click white, and change white to green, complementary colors. And then I'll just change RGB to hue saturation value and near to far, and I get a nice rainbow. And then if I play with this a little bit more, I can start getting that like cool sketched out painted look, which I kind of dig. And then I play with the scale, and you can see here you're getting like kind of nice, kind of looks like Dr. Seuss type feathering effect, which is kind of interesting, right? Kind of dig it. But maybe I'll just take it back there and get more of a painted effect. And then I can maybe add in one more shader color, and that gets really trippy. But I kind of don't want that. So I'm going to pull that down and just get a little more contrast here by using blue. And I'll take the blue and maybe pull him down a little bit. And now I'm getting a more contrasty look, more trippy, more psychedelic, more glowy, whatever. And I'm kind of liking that. So now all that's left to do is animate the thing, right? So how do we do that? Well, I have, being that I didn't use this shading tab up here, I have my timeline. So what I'll do is I'll select magic texture, and I'll hit Control T, and that has Node Wrangler. If you don't have Node Wrangler installed, you just go Edit, Preferences, go to Add-ons, type in Node, and check Node Wrangler, and then this will work. So what I can do now is leave all that as is, and if I start playing with the Y here, I start getting this really cool kind of fractal reflected breakup, right? Trippy. That's exactly what I want. So I'm going to keyframe it. So to do that, I'm just going to go on it, right click, say Insert Single Keyframe, go to the end, and I'm going to type in 359 because it's just short of 360 degrees, and type in Insert Single Keyframe. And now I have a nice loop, seamless loop. Look at that. Watch this. It does it seamless. Nothing going on bad. Nothing bad. All perfect. And I can leave it at that, or I can push out the scale a little bit. So let's do that and make it even cooler, right? So we want to make it as cool as we can. So I'm going to hit scale, and I'm going to right click and say insert keyframe here, and I'll do one at the end too, insert keyframe, and then right in the middle at like 125, maybe I will kind of push the scale down a little bit, and it'll just add some more interest to it. And then right click, hit insert keyframe, and now I have this really wild, trippy effect happening. And you see, it loops. And it goes down, and it comes back up, and it loops. But that might be a lot. You probably don't need that much. So maybe I'll just bring it back out, maybe to there, replace keyframe, and that's a little bit better. And lastly now, I can animate either my plane or my cylinder, either one. And if I rotate that on the Y, I start getting this really cool effect too. So I can add all of that in. Y, I can right click, say insert single keyframe, go here. This time I'll type in -300. 159. Enter, right click, insert single keyframe, and now I have this rotating, cool, trippy, psychedelic effect. So now lastly, to render it, I simply go check my settings, right? Render 128, it's probably high. I probably don't need it that, but I'll leave it. I don't know. My computer's pretty powerful. It goes fast. Glossy, okay, if you're not getting enough reflections, change this. I think it defaults at 4. Change this to like 12 or something. And lastly, let's see what else. Okay, so output, HD, that's fine. 24 frames, 250, that's good. Now here, output, okay, I made a folder, okay, and I'm naming this Psychedelic 001.mp4. Okay, it's important you put MP4 there if you're making a movie. If not, you could use still images. I do that all the time, but for this example, I'm using .mp4. Hit accept. And then file format, very important. PNG, change that. Hopefully you have FFmpeg video. And lastly, you have to hit encoding, this little button, and say H.264 in MP4. That'll work. There are other settings you can use. I'm just using those because I know they work for this, and I can show you everything when it's done. And now, all that's left is render animation. And we wait. Okay, so here we have the final animation, and you can see it's doing some really cool stuff, and it's looking really groovy, man. So, have at it, have fun. You can see that what we did was we just created a plane. We made this texture. Okay, all it was is an emission with a color ramp plugged in and magic texture driving the color ramp and some mapping. We keyframed the rotation on the mapping, we keyframed the scale on the magic texture, and we keyframed this cylinder. Now we started with the cylinder that was like 6 sides or more, and then we decided that it wasn't reflecting quite well, so triangle works pretty well for that. And so I just made a triangle tunnel and threw it in. And you can check up here. There's another tutorial that I have that'll show you how I did something with the disco ball, and it's really, really interesting. And it's a similar effect, but it's deeper looking. But this is just a really cool surface 2D effect that you can use for lots of different things, and it loops. So use it for VJ stuff or you know, I don't know, whatever. So anyway, hopefully you got something out of this video. Hopefully you learned something. And if you did, hit like, subscribe, share it, hit that bell notification because, you know, you want to be alerted when I drop a new video, hopefully. And go ahead and find your mojo. All right, see you in the next video.